and whispered legend. So clutch your lantern, keep one eye on the surface, and let's begin. Nestled in West Yorkshire, the spectacular flight known as the Bingley Five Rise locks on the canal is a marvel of engineering. But when darkness falls, the locals whisper of something more than just creaking lock gates and a dripping stone. It is said one night a walker heard the faint thud of footsteps and the echo of water sluices being opened and closed, though no boat was there. You might imagine standing on the cold stone steps above the canal, hearing the water rushing, feeling something watching you from the shadows. The locks creak. The water spills over the lip, and then silence. Then a figure appears, dressed like a 19th century boatman, leaning on a narrow boat roof, tugging at invisible ropes. As the witness drew closer, the figure looked up. He nodded and simply vanished into thin air. The locks fell silent once more. According to the Heritage Group, the Phantom of Bingley Five Rise might be a spectral boatman whose presence is real until he mysteriously vanishes on approach. It's left many to wonder, is this the spirit of a boat crew member who died working the locks in the early days, or the residual echo of the constant human labour that once made this waterway flow? Still in the Bingley area, another more haunting story lingers. It is told that beneath one of the canal bridges near the locks, on a quiet night, one can sometimes hear the faint, anguished wail of a baby, though no child has ever been seen. Local legend says a baby once fell into the canal here and never emerged. Its spirit trapped in the echo chamber beneath the stone. Then there's the tale of the drowned bride, a woman in a wedding dress said to float just above the water's surface near the same locks. Some say she slipped in her big dress, fell in on her wedding day, and that she now wanders the towpath at dusk, searching for her bridegroom. Whether you're standing on the bridge after sunset or passing by in a narrowboat with the towpath lights off, the story invites you to listen for a whisper, a splash, and a glint of white floating in the water. We move further along the canal to Wigan Pier, not a seaside pier, but a historic coal-loading jetty on the canal in Wigan. One well-documented ghost story here is of the drowned docker, a labourer in the 1800s, reportedly drunk, who slipped into the canal and drowned. At night, visitors claim to hear a faint splashing, and some say they felt a wet hand on their legs as they passed a wharf. Another tale, the boatman's whistle, a bargeman crushed by cargo in the early 1900s. Late at night, the sound of a whistle echoes along the wharves. and ropes seemingly tug themselves as if a boat is being moored through and nothing is there. The figures appear only in mist and disappear if approached. Walking the towpath at Wigan Pier after dark, you might feel the weight of decades of coal dust, barge ropes, and the silent labour of men who never stopped working, even in death. Near Leeds City, there is a pub with an eerie connection to the canal. The Abbey Inn at Bramley stands above the canal and formerly served as a mortuary for bodies from the canal and nearby River Aire were brought between the 1800s and 1950s. Ghost sightings reported there include a cloaked figure, a lady in grey, and even a man resembling Guy Fawkes in the dark corners of the building. The fact that the canal recovery teams brought bodies here adds an extra layer of intrigue and dread. Imagine stepping into the pub late in the evening, then you hear the water drip, somewhere deep in the brickwork, shoes scuffling along the old mortuary corridor, and you glimpse a shadow at the window overlooking the canal. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the past presence of death on that spot gives a chill. This is not somewhere you would wish to wander alone in the dark, should you fear the sight of the dead that have gone before. Imagine the pub's windows glowing, the towpath empty, echo of water beneath the building, and the 4-footstep corridor that the mortuary once was. The canal wasn't just commerce, it was death, accidents, suicides, recovery teams, the water remembers. This one is a more recent and less widely told story. Along the canal near Scarisbrooke Marina and Horsell, there is an account from the late 1900s where a taxi driver named Alan was driving early one Sunday morning around 3 to 3:30 a.m. He passed a bridge and ahead he saw an oldish man wearing a cap and a farmer's style jacket. He was said to be standing by the edge of the canal. Alan slammed on his brakes and got out, expecting to find someone maybe had fallen, but there was no one. The figure had vanished. Just imagine for a moment if you were driving that same route and you saw that ghostly apparition. Would you believe your own eyes? Another witness the day before described seeing a man in the front of the seat of her car. He was wearing a woolen coat and hat, though she did not see his face. She looked away, and when she looked back, he was gone. These stories don't carry the theatrical drama of the bride in white or a ghost boatman. They're quiet, they're subtle, and they linger, and they may unsettle you more for that reason. Along the stretch of canal near the Lancashire-Yorkshire border, Pendle West Craven Way, there is a lesser told legend of a white lady apparition. The spirit of a woman in a long white gown, said to haunt the moors and the canal path after dusk. According to the local walking guide, near the canal path by Kelbrook and the moorland above the canal cut, one passes memorials of the navvies who died building the canal. The story says that she was the murdered wife of a landlord in the early 19th century, and that after her death she now appears by the canal side under the bridge, especially when the mist rises off the water and the towpath is deserted. You can just imagine how the mist is creeping in and the towpath is lit just by a faint lantern in the distance, and then the figure appears, then flickers away. How the canal cuts through the remote landscape, how lonely labourers built it, and how tragedies can imprint themselves on the place. Yet this lady stands out amongst the misty dark scenery, causing a chill to be felt by all those who dare see her with their own eyes. Along the towpath between Accrington and Blackburn, there are personal accounts of a borderland, a stretch of the canal where the water runs beside industrial walls, and one writer describes a creeping unease. This particular section, just before the church kirk, the canal leaves a wide open expanse and begins to narrow as it moves along the flanking walls of the Blythe chemicals. People recount that in the early hours, you might glimpse a solitary figure walking the towpath, or sense something watching you from between the dark walls. No clear apparition, just the feeling of a presence. You may feel the goosebumps, and the air may grow colder for a minute or two, all sure signs that you are in the presence of something else, something that you are unable to see. You can clearly imagine water pipes echoing in the silence, and then the sound of footsteps which stop when you turn. Places where industry meets nature often leave residual echoes. The labour, the accidents, the fade out of work. Ghosts are less about spectacle, they're more about quiet memory. So as our journey draws to a close, from the clanking 18th century locks to the coal dust wharf at Wigan to the canal side mortuary pub in Leeds, the ghosts of the Leeds and Liverpool Canal are as varied as the history of the waterway itself. Whether they are echoes of tragedy, apparitions of labour past, or simply the power of suggestion on a misty night, the next time you stroll the towpath, pause and listen. Watch the surface of the water, for the chill of the air that doesn't move, because on the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, the past never quite lets go. Thanks for joining me on this ghostly venture. If you've enjoyed the tales, please like, subscribe and hit the bell. And if you ever walk the canal at dusk, tread carefully. Some stories might just follow you home.